Dear reader, listener, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also, if you're beginning this audio version of Taught on week 34, I would advise going back to listen to weeks 1 through 33 and the foreword and prologue. All of these are in order in the playlist and can be accessed on the YouTube channel Taught at Taught 2022. This character's journal will make much more sense if you start at her beginning. Taught, week 34. Sunday, April 16th, 2017, 7 a.m. Why do we do this to ourselves? Kelly's zonked out, and I'm having a coffee. If I drink any alcohol, I cannot sleep well. And since this is my first bout of drinking since giving up drinking for the new year, I think I can say that this is a lifelong problem, one that I can solve by just not drinking again, except maybe on special occasions. So I've been up most of the night. Well, I was up until 1 a.m. because Kelly and I were having a pretty good time. We went to dinner where we did not make healthy choices, and we each had drinks from the bar. Then we went back to the hotel and went swimming. We did all the tricks we could remember from our youth. I actually was still able to do a double somersault, but that started the queasies. Then we sat in the jacuzzi, which did not help the queasies. Then we went back to our room and I did tarot reading for us while we drank our bottle of wine, which really did not help the queasies, unless you call pushing me over the edge where I actually did throw up help. Maybe I shouldn't blame the wine. I asked the tarot about moving to Seattle and pulled the Fool card, and then I threw up. I did feel much better after, but not well enough to snack on the veggie straws with Kelly. I'm not sure those are actually healthy snacks, but they're probably better than pretzel M&Ms. Then we got weepy thinking about me moving, and then we got cracked up at us getting weepy. It was a good night. This is a mercy coffee, and I refuse to feel guilty about it. Monday, April 17th, 2017, 4 p.m. I think I'm getting a cold, which figures since it is officially state assessment week, meaning I cannot call in sick. Paulo and I started going through things yesterday to get rid of things and things to pack. It's exciting, an adventure, one where I'm free falling and there's nothing for me to latch onto. There are more unknowns in my life right now than knowns. Yet, I am less stressed than I have been in months. I expressed all of this to Paulo, and he reminded me that I could latch on to him and Mimi. Tuesday, April 18th, 2017, 7 a.m. Now that Adam has transferred to another school and my life is no longer in imminent danger, Grandma is back to her favorite hobby, critiquing every aspect of my life. She knows me so well that she knows what I'm worried about and pulls it out to slap me around with it. Today, it was where Mimi would stay if Paulo and I were both working outside the home. This would likely happen, according to her, since we were moving to Seattle. Despite his job being remote from home, they would not have him move if they didn't want him to come into the office. And I explained to her how daycare works. Then she explained how daycares are dangerous, according to about 100 things she's seen on TV. You know, I don't really need things to worry about. I can come up with them all on my own. Word has traveled that I'm leaving school, and I'm beginning to hear from more people. Finally, here's the love I expected. But it doesn't go beyond my notice that my colleagues are just as interested in what I know about who will take my position as they are about my impending departure. I've considered these people family, but will I really stay in touch with them after we move? Probably not, unlike family. And lastly, I have a new thing to be worried about in seventh hour. I have a boy gang. It was just a matter of time. Actually, I have two boy gangs to be exact. I've decided to call them the Saggy Pants Gang and the Black Eyeliner Gang. Wednesday, April 19th, 2017, 6 a.m. State testing was yesterday. I went through my whole spiel about how these tests are more about me and my teaching than their performance. This spiel only works with certain classes and groups, the ones who care. It's meant to take the pressure off a bit and calm test anxiety. For students that don't care, it's a get out of jail free card, the jail of having to read and write and put effort into that. That second group of kiddos hears just click through the test and get it out of the way. so they don't get the first spiel. My seventh hour specifically are getting the raise your hand when done spiel. This enables me to have a conversation with them about why they think a test that should have taken 45 minutes just took said student 6 minutes. Hmm? Why is that? Did you become a speed reader with a photographic memory overnight? Oh, you didn't. So, did you find a way to bend time so that all those chronological rules don't apply to you in test taking? What do you mean you don't know what chronological means? Because we spent 3 weeks on prefixes, and chrono was one of them. I'm not allowed to say, find your give a shit now, or I will make you suffer the remaining 5 weeks of school that I have you. Actually, there are a lot of things I'm not allowed to say. I have a manual and training PowerPoint to guide me. And if that's not enough to keep me from accidentally helping my students get at or above grade level scores, I have a script. All of this comes with several dire warnings from the state on what they will do to us if we violate any of the rules. Maybe there's a teacher jail somewhere for those who violate test taking protocol? Don't ask me what happens. I just know all of this creates the worst scenario for testing, according to brain research. State testing does, however, afford me to do some other things. Granted, I'm not supposed to do other things, but how does one observe the students and not look at their computer screens simultaneously? It's an exercise in paranoia for me to work the room while fearing I may accidentally read part of a test question or one of the students' answers. I would much rather justify looking for jobs on one of the extra computers rather than try to convince someone I hadn't read one word of the state assessment. So I did look for jobs today. I have several people on the hook now for letters of recommendation, and I think I'm close to beginning some applications. Today's searches turned up some jobs I hadn't considered, and some I'd never even heard of. The Seattle area has a lot more opportunities for educators than paraprofessional, teacher, or administrator, apparently. I think I'm qualified to be an avid liaison and a reading specialist, but I think I might go for my emergency sub certification first. Oh, one last thing. Lewis hasn't been in since last week for a hug. I might reach out to Matt just to check in. Thursday, April 20th, 2017, 4 p.m. Another day of state testing complete. A very nice thing about doing them on a computer using a state created system is that you get results pretty quickly. They're predicting that scores should be coming in as early as next week. Anita and Derek think we should have a celebration for students who brought their test scores up compared to last year's. They actually wanted us to figure out a way to give cash prizes and for us to promote state testing from this angle earlier in the year. Thank goodness they couldn't come up with the funding to make this happen. Yes, I am certain test scores will improve if we pay students to learn, but it seems nonsensical to me to pay students to come participate in their free education. I really want to go on a huge rant about entitled American students here, but to be fair, it's not the students' faults. We all have culpability on this one. We're so worried that something won't be fair and or that our system will show problems that we've forgotten what we are here for. Foundational knowledge that gives everyone the same opportunity to keep going with it or use what they have to do what they need to do or want to do. Over half of a teacher's time is spent talking about or prepping for assessments. How many of us are professional freaking test takers? Imagine what teachers could do if we had some of that time back. This little rant may be the reason that I had a weird thing happen today. I started filling out applications for jobs while the students were testing. What? Yep, I said that. I filled out applications for a new job while currently working at my current job. It was a productive use of time. It's not like they're going to fire me at this point. Anyway, I found a job that I am made for. Seventh, eighth grade English language arts teacher at a co op school. The pay is almost double what I'm making here. But as I started filling out the application, all I could feel was frustration and dread as I answered stupid question after stupid question. There were 5 essay questions. All I could think that was no one would probably even read my answers. So what was the point in doing all of this? One question wanted me to explain why I thought I was qualified for this job. That, friend, is called a resume. Why did I have to give the paragraph form here? Then I had to fill out a 50-question survey where I had to proclaim that I had never abused a child, nor was I being investigated for abusing a child. Shouldn't one no be enough? How about a no and a criminal background check? Because that is also mandatory. And all I could think was, this is hours of work, and I don't even want this job. The truth is, if someone wants to give me a teaching job to transition to Washington, I'm good with that. But to make me do this much work for a chance to do something I don't even enjoy anymore, well, that's just too much. It felt like digging my own grave. Those applications are meant to be filled out by people who are invested, and I'm not. People who are invested mind the hoop jumping a little less. I may be screwed on the job finding front, but what would I possibly do if I didn't teach? If I got a job at Starbucks, I'm afraid I might be tempted to start drinking coffee again. But otherwise, that's my top pick. When I look at that application, it's way easier to fill out. Saturday, April 22nd, 2017, 6 a.m. It feels wrong to order an ice water at Starbucks, but they are so darn friendly about it that I need to get over the wrongness of it. Nonetheless, I just ordered a hot tea that I didn't really want because cash felt like it needed to be exchanged here. I am stuck in capitalism. Starbucks hot tea isn't bad per se, it's just not my thing. I prefer it in a chai latte version if I'm going to have it. And if I'm going that direction, I feel I may as well have a coffee. I don't know where the rules around what constitutes a healthy hot beverage for me have sprung from. In fact, I'm not sure what's even governing them. But I know this cup of hot tea and huge ice water, which I really wanted, are within my mystery guidelines that spontaneously present themselves when I have to make a choice. Yesterday was a day. I almost wrote weird again. It was the kind of day that makes you feel like something shifted and can't be unshifted, and that seems to be happening a lot this school year. Is unshifted a word? You know, one of those things that happens like when your car gets in a wreck and from that point on just doesn't move on the highway the same way. Or when you get in a fight with a friend and you say your truth and from that moment on things are different. It was the kind of day where that kind of shifting happens. It wasn't a weird day, it was an unsettling day. The first unsettling thing that happened was Brad Says invited me to meet him for salads at Whole Foods. This didn't seem unsettling initially. I was actually flattered and surprised. He's more of a Mountain Dew and meatball sub kind of guy. But as we were firming up details in the parking lot after school, I realized he's slimmed down quite a bit since the day he scooped up all the candy during our red, white, and blue activity. And when we sat down a couple of hours later with salads, I noted his wasn't even covered in the good stuff like pasta salad, cheese, or bacon bits. Brad has always had a bad attitude towards school. He's our resident grump. He likes to tell it like it is and in a way that dares anyone to contradict him. He's also hilarious and really smart. He teaches science, and the kids think he's a super wacko, and they all learn volumes from him and remember him long after leaving the classroom. During our dinner, he talks to me as if we're old friends. And we are, but I've never considered us super close. Eventually, he gets around to why he has asked me to have salads, and let's be clear, he's never invited me to do anything with him before. I mean, never even invited me to sit at the same table as him during an in service. He wants to tell me he has also decided to leave the school at the end of the year. He's accepted another position in another district. Wow. I'm shocked. He's been at our school for almost 20 years. I called myself a fixture, but he really is a fixture. I asked how Molly, his teaching partner, is taking it, and he informs me that no one knows yet, just me. My surprise must show because he tells me I inspired him. Not because I also am leaving, but because he saw how I got raw deal after raw deal this school year, and he just decided he didn't have the stomach to stay and see anyone else treated that way. I guess rumors have been floating around, and maybe the staff knows more about my school year than I knew. Hmm. I'm still not sure how that makes me feel. I guess if you can combine pride and embarrassment with the feeling of actually knowing that someone sees your truth, you would come close. Although there's a smidge of irritation and not wanting to be the pity source that drove someone out of their career. I guess I didn't really drive him out of his career, but I'm sure he was pretty comfy after being in the same district and building for 20 years. Now that I'm mulling this over, he's been in the same classroom all 9 years I've been at the middle school. Wonder if he's been in the same class all 20 years. It all seems so easy for him. He just decides he's done and gets another job, and that's that. I feel envy. As we're beginning to the dish cleanup portion of the meal, he confides that his doctor has told him his heart is bad. Now he has to eat at places like this, and he gestures with his hand. But that's life. I receive a really big bear hug from him as we get to our cars. Brad is 10 years older than I am. I find myself hoping that in 10 years, I don't find out that my heart is bad and I need to change jobs because my employer treats my weaker colleagues like crap. The second unsettling thing that happened today is Matt, Lewis's case manager, came by after school. Lewis has been placed in foster care. He thought I should know. It's a really good placement, but it's in a town an hour and a half away. He wasn't sure when or if Lewis would return to his original home or this school. It was looking as if the stepdad would be doing jail time for something. He didn't really know what. But the takeaway was Lewis was going to have a much better life now. And since he knew how much I like Lewis, he wanted to let me know. I wanted to punch him. It's not his fault, but I think it was the casual way he was letting me know. Surely he had to know that Lewis meant more to me than a kiddo at school that I liked. I want to feel relief and happiness for what surely must finally be a success story for one of my students. I've waited so long for all of the work I put into a student to actually have a happy ending, or even a result. Mostly it's a lot of effort and struggle to never know if it had any impact. But the more Matt yammered on about Lewis like he was dusting his hands and simultaneously patting himself on the back, the more disconnected I felt. Like when you start to pass out and everything seems to be coming from a faraway place that matters less and less. What did I think was the outcome of this situation anyway? The reality is that I washed Lewis's clothes and gave him a hug every day. That is not enough to overcome the daily suffering he was enduring for who knows how many years. But I can't find it in me to feel joy for a job well done, for a time when the system worked as intended. All I can feel is hollow, and how I wish I had known that the hug I gave him last Friday was the last one. If I had known, I would have breathed some of him in like he did me that one time. I would have gotten all of his clothes together so he would have them. I would have told him that I would never forget him and that I loved him. When I asked Matt if he wants the clothes, Matt says to give them to another needy kid because Lewis's new family has already gotten him everything he needs.